Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
So, I know you're pretty familiar with the story of the Swan Princess.
Yeah, one of my favourite childhood films. And then you ruined it for me watching it as an adult. Yeah.
I didn't ruin it.
You did, because you made me watch it. Because I wanted to
that's
show
not-
you it, and then I was like, oh, I don't remember it this way. Your fault.
It's really not.
But I think that's where my love for, I really enjoy dance shows and such as well. Even though there wasn't much dancing in
There's
this
a lot
one,
of singing
but
in
there's
that.
a lot of singing.
Yeah. Well, this film we're going to be covering is a sort of different take on the tale, I suppose.
I know, the classic, obviously, the Swan Princess, kind of.
Yeah.
So I kind of know, that, and I feel like I know the
Swan Lake.
dun.
No, that's not.
What's the?
That's the Sugar Plum.
There's another one. That's the one.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the Swan Lake. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
How I'm aware of that, I don't really know. I think I used to have it in assembly at school.
Okay.
When you waiting, sat cross-legged, waiting for your teachers to come and present.
That's a very strange thing to have.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
Very strange child.
Very strange school, that sounds.
No, it wasn't like my Christian school either. It was like my primary school.
Well, this one is called Black Swan. 2010.
So an adaptation.
Well, it's about a ballerina who is cast in the role as the Swan Princess.
Okay.
But there's a lot more darker undertones going on.
No wonder you picked it. It's dark. Sophie's going to get scared.
No, I'm not saying scared. I'm just mean it's like a psychologically charged one. I mean,
great. That's they're not good for me.
So, if you want to do a sort of comparison of things, if you think of how the story might go, it goes is in similar how the intensity of Whiplash is in that sense, like getting perfection of the dance routine and the pressures of that. No, no drums.
No, but that's like Whiplash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of the drums, yeah.
Yeah, but this is to do with dancing.
Okay. But I feel like dancing's even worse than drums, just because it's your appearance, it's your
posture,
it's your everything, it's the way you look, the way you know. So it could kind of go down the route of body image and such.
So I kind of just sort of said something about the storyline, but I'll kind of give what IMDb's synopsis is. So. Nina is a talented but unstable ballerina on the verge of stardom. Pushed to the breaking point by her artistic director and a seductive rival, Nina's grip on reality slips, plunging her into a waking nightmare.
Intriguing.
Yes, that's what I'm about. It's a psychological thing, not a...
Don't know if it's going to mess with my brain, probably.
Yeah,
I'll need something light-hearted after this, I think.
No, but it's. I'd say now it's been a good while since I've seen it, so kind of like a refresher in my eyes of how I've kind of from last I saw it. But I remember it being very good then. And
when did you last see it?
Well, if it's 2010, it might have been a couple of years after that.
Oh, okay.
So should be good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I like the dancing aspect.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be back shortly with Sophie's thoughts.
My daughter, the Swan Queen. It's our favorite. Vanilla with strawberry filling.
Oh, Mom, not too big. Oh, that's way too much.
It's a celebration. It's just this once.
Mom, my stomach's still in knots.
Fine. Then it's garbage.
No, Mom, don't. I'm sorry.
And we're back. Having seen Black Swan. What are your initial thoughts?
It's a heavy one. It's...
Yeah, I thought you would be.
Deep, it's dark, it's...
Complex, in a sense?
Yeah, it's intriguing, it is, and she kind of somewhat weirdly reminds me of me. Like her innocent self, like the White Swan, kind of being naive and a little bit innocent and like living with her mum and all of that, and then kind of the pure frustration of when people just take her for granted and don't really like have to try and push her darkness out of her. I think it's like she's too good, like, so they can't see her as anything else. And I think that's frustrating when you're like, well, why am I just shoehorned? Just because I'm nice doesn't mean, I'm this goody two shoes and don't like to have fun and all of that. I think that's how she's shoehorned a little bit into that.
Yeah, I suppose in a way, but I think it's also a kind of just like any creative teacher or whoever wants to push that person out of their comfort zone a little bit. And so to be cruel, to be kind in a sense. And so for her, yes, she's sort of like innocent and withdrawn within herself. She kind of keeps herself to herself, apart from everyone else, all the other dancers and stuff like that. I think it's just that she's too controlling of herself, like say she's striving for perfection, and perfection doesn't necessarily exist, and she's got to get loose a little bit. I
get that though. Like I really strive for perfection. I'm very organised. I like to be knowing what things are happening and when they're happening, and I think so. I can kind of relate to her as that. I think she has a very controlling mother who is living her life through Nina.
Yeah, vicariously. Yeah.
And the pressure Nina has to be perfect and to be the best and the amazing and do everything right is definitely stemming down from her mum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hard fine line where you want to be perfect, and I think I've come to an age where now I realise I am who I am. You can like me or leave me, but especially in my 20s, I was such a people pleaser. I cared so much what everyone thought of me, and I think this is what Nina is. She wants to succeed and be the best, but she won't step on people to really do that, and I think the Black Swan in her will.
Yeah, that's her coming out of her evil side, essentially. And
it's her dark side coming out of her. And I think it's a bit mind trippy as well. You don't really know what is sincerely correct and what actually happens within some scenes. And you're like, did that happen? Did that not happen? And it's down to your own interpretation.
In some cases, yeah, there's a lot of going back through this. There was certain things I did remember, like, oh yeah, that's her just having like stuff like with the mirrors. That's kind of obvious, like, oh, she's just seeing things in her head and stuff. But like when some more particularly people interactions and stuff, like, did I actually hurt that person or did I speak to that person? I just saw you a moment ago type of...
Oh, you were meant to have stayed at my house and you didn't. And
yeah, those kind of things. Yeah,
I think she's in her head a lot, and what is actually reality versus her mind is another matter.
Which is, we can all attest to things like having the pressures of work or any other kind of problematic things in our lives that can bear a burden on stuff. But obviously not to that extent, I'd hope, with seeing like shadows in the dark and all that kind of stuff.
I think I'm okay at the moment. I don't think I'm that far. But I think it's one of those things that perfection can make you go that way.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it shows once you've made it within this kind of field as well, with dancing or being a ballerina or anything like that, it's kind of, even being like a footballer, a certain age and you're at your prime, and then you kind of become old and...
that's it. Washed up, and that's it. Yeah, you're done with,
And that's kind of what Beth is, who you pointed out, she's Joyce from Strange Things.
Winona Ryder, yeah.
And bless her, she's peaked at her career. She's still really talented and still obviously can dance, but it's an age thing, and there's a newer model on the scene, basically.
A new face of Swan Lake,
who can kind of bring more, well, I don't know why they always have to be new and younger, but clearly something in economies and life that makes us think that that's the case.
I don't know if it's just fatigue with seeing the same person do these...
Well, we see Ant and Dec all the time and we don't get fed up with them, do we?
Or, what's he called from this Bradford Theatres? Billy
Pierce.
He does.
I don't feel like we have a choice with him. He's just always there. Bless him.
Pantomime season.
Yeah.
They don't get fresh blood for him, do they? Because no one else will do it. I don't think.
I don't think no one else brings in the bacon like he does for some reason. But yeah, I know what you're meaning. I feel, but yet again, not meaning this in a bad way. I'm not always trying to be bringing it around to sexism or anything like that, but I feel like men get away with stuff like that a lot longer. If that were a woman, they would have got replaced with a newer model.
Yeah, there's always the beauty, isn't there, of the woman.
Yeah.
Just have the sex appeal and all that kind of stuff.
To be fair, women are more beautiful than men. We have more accessories and stuff, and we
can
do a lot more.
I'll agree. Yeah, you can. In terms of like just a clothing aspect, you can have a bazillion types of dresses that kind of look fabulous and everything like that. Whereas, like, if obviously a men to dress up is just a suit, it's just in a different colour or anything like that. Whereas women have more choice.
Yeah, we do. Like, that's why if we were a child, I'd want a girl, just because you get more selection. So, with this, you can just see her striving to want to be the Swan Queen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she can see. It's like you don't even see her have any other personal life. No, like, boyfriends, no friends. Literally, all she has is this place that's like... I don't know if it is a theatre and they do pay her. I guess it is.
I assume so, because I don't know where else the money's coming in from.
Or is she even getting paid? It makes it sound like... Is she? Because, like, I don't really know what a mum even does.
No, they'll just be overbearing. And
she's insanely...
Yeah, manipulative and just controlling.
The fact that she just draws her daughter all day as well is a bit creepy.
I see that as the kind of thing, like, she's trying to find the perfect image of her daughter as well, I think, in that sense. Not just Nina as well. In herself, it's her, like, it's almost like I've got to paint the perfect picture of what my daughter is to be.
Because she says my perfect girl, doesn't she? That a lot. And, like, Prince, something like...
Oh, that's the
director.
Director, yeah.
Says something about
little princess, yeah, kind of, yeah.
And it's just, you don't know how toxic these words actually are.
Yeah, toxic is a good word to describe the mother and daughter relationship, really. Yeah. And also, obviously, it's not just that in the home life, it's also when she's in the dance studio as well.
Yeah.
With him.
And
so there's a lot of, I don't know if that, obviously when the term gaslighting became a term, but that is like an early example of that, like being...
Gaslighting's always been around, hasn't it? But I feel like it's become popular and everyone's aware of it now.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I mean.
I don't understand, but it has always been there.
Yeah.
It's not just like a thing that's just a right.
No, I mean, I heard the term being used a lot more in today's society.
I think it's because it's been in that Taylor Swift song or something. Oh no, 1975, I think it is.
Right. Okay. I think it's.
Anyway,
yeah, I'm talking in terms of of recent times. That's been more of a common occurrence, been a phrase.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is, and I think for her, she's struggling to actually be herself. She's just wanting to be whatever version of Nina her mum wants, her director wants, her peers want. Basically, she's not being true to herself, and I still don't think, even after the fact, she's just trying to be Beth. She steals her makeup.
Yeah, she just want to be perfect. She says that later on, and like you say, yes, it takes all that cosmetic stuff just to be like I'm mimicking you and just want to be like you.
But clearly, Nina is good enough because she's the new Swan Queen.
Yeah,
and we want something different. You don't need to be Beth.
Yeah, and I think copy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this mindset she has is kind of driving her down a dark, dark path, and this is where her head
literally, yeah.
is going on overdrive, where she's scratching herself and overthinking things, thinking she's becoming a literal swan, which is very, very visual and very clever.
Yeah, a metaphor of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Metaphorical. Yeah, so they say, like, when I say, like, in the psychological sense, there's also a tiny bit of horrific elements.
Oh, it's gory as hell.
There's a thing with that skin peeling back in there. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about things like that. But obviously, like when you say the back scratchings, like these black feather things come out as well. And it's like, obviously they're not really there. They're just...
It's all in her head, isn't it? Yeah. Because like even like where the cuticle is and she's ripping her skin, it probably is just a tiny little bit that she's ripping, but in her head she's peeling her whole finger off. Yeah. And
trying to transform like birds, or they molt the feathers, don't they? But
like a webbed feet where she at the end where she's gotten webbed.
Yeah. Becoming that and stuff. Now, what I interest obviously in this watch as well, I know there's a moment when her like legs bend back like a bird does, but maybe I got confused with. I thought she became more of like a anthropomorphic swan. Obviously, there's the thing when she spins around and she gets the feathers when she becomes the black swan at the near the end. But I think more like when sort of like gets a beak or something. Maybe I did in my head differently, or it was that other representation of the darker presence that you know that other character who kind of steers her in the wrong direction type of thing. I think it's maybe that it was getting confused on from my previous watch, but yeah.
I think for you rewatching this, there'll be certain things where you would have taken from like certain scenes where you're like, oh yeah, actually this is her. So like for example, when she goes to see Beth and gives her all the stuff, she's like, I get it now, I understand he's trying to replace me and all of that. And then there's the nail file and Beth's like sticking it into her cheeks. And then it's like, is she actually doing that, or is it Nina doing that, or is it having a harsh conversation and none of this actually happening?
Because obviously she gets the whole manipulation with seeing her face on other people.
Yeah,
as well.
So actually she's just hurting herself.
Yeah, it's like just again the not self-harming in that sense, like mentally self-harming, like you.
So it could be the equivalent of her just scratching.
Yeah,
but it's kind of her thinking all of these thoughts. But then when she walks out with the file, it looks like she's got it in her hand. So is it like, has she just done that to Beth, or is it she's done it to herself? And that's the bit where it's like, and I think it's intriguing as hell, and you want to carry on watching it, but at the same time, it's heavy.
We did have to pause there, didn't we? I was going to say, because
you're picking on me. I got scared.
With the Beth situation, there's like a scene where she goes into the kitchen and he hears like a voice, and then she turns the light back on and there's Beth standing in the
I was
corridor.
Like, nope.
So
it was getting late for me, and I was like...
So I honestly couldn't tell you at that point, like, if there was any other scarier parts.
To be fair, I think we were fine after that, though. When we watched it through the day, it was like, was that it?
Yeah.
We're okay, but just because it was nighttime and there was that woman in the corner, I was like, nope, I don't know where this is going.
And I couldn't remember what follows on from that, but other than how the dance goes.
But it wasn't to a point of where I was like, right, okay, I can leave it there and not pick it up. I needed to pick it up and know the ending. I wanted to know what happened and how it would end. I think I kind of had an inkling of how this was going to pan out because of just the overworking, kind of self-hate for herself, because all she cares about is doing the best that she can in this. This is like consuming her. It's her identity now.
Yeah, it's very consuming, and that's what obviously the transformation in herself is all about. She has to push herself, not really on her own terms. It's kind of like everybody else, like the director as well, like kind of obviously like forcing himself on her, and like that's kind of like, like there's a lot of, I noticed particularly this time, like how obviously there's a lot of black and white in the film, not a black and white filter. I'm just meaning a lot of black clothing, white buildings and all that kind of stuff. So there's obviously
like, the good and bad is.
No, not necessarily. I think it's just the balance. That's kind of like the colour scheme within the film, like the yin and yang of everything that's around in her life, I suppose. Not just what people are wearing as such, but also just the environment that she's placed in. Also, there's the pink in her room, in like a childlike room.
Yeah.
Like
and
the innocence
coat as well.
Yeah, and their innocence as well. Actually, like the pink grapefruit at the start. So I think she says like, "Oh, it's really pink." Like,
she does.
Like, yeah.
And I think as well, you kind of also cover an eating disorder within this as well.
You mean with the cake?
Yeah.
That she goes, "Oh, no, I can't possibly have anything to."
Oh, Mum, that's too big. It's too big, and then she just gives her a little bit of frosting, and it's a big ass cake for two people. And her mum's just proud of her. It's like,
but then it's like again guilt tripping. They're like, I'll just shove it in the bin. It's a waste. Yeah. It's like no. That's a short moment of where you just know what the relationship's like between them. And like going back to the pink room as well, like when she's doing her homework, in the director says like, go home and touch yourself. And so like she's in the like room, and then she's doing this like dirty deed of masturbating and stuff like that, and then she's kind of letting herself loose, and then realising her mum's sat there and
it's awful, and it's like, how old is she? Like, that's another thing, like...
It's not really specified, I don't think, what her age is, but I say in her 20s.
Yeah, but it makes it seem like she's very young, and I think it's like mid-20s. I don't think it's even like young 20s.
Mid-20s, yeah.
Yeah, like 25 or something like that.
Yeah, at most, yeah.
Yeah, and I think she's still not grown and developed in her parents. Well, mum's just like being overprotective, but at the same time, not letting her live her life, and dancing is just consuming it.
So in, like, say, like, with some comparisons to Whiplash, you kind of see that in a sense. Maybe not to that
I don't think the
super
parents are
extreme.
like that.
No, not in Whiplash. I think they're a bit more.
If anything, they don't want him to really be like that. But I think it's more like the director and
Fletcher.
Yeah.
In Whiplash, yeah. He's very, like, intense in that.
But I think it's to a different level, because, like, this one kind of, it annoys me the way it goes down the sex line. I know that sounds daft. Or just because she's female, she has to let loose and masturbate and have sex to feel free.
Kiss,
that was a bit that annoyed me.
Okay.
Like, why is sex be all and end all of being free? Like, what is that? And I think it annoyed me because it's like, well, what? So a woman has to have sex appeal and has to, but I think in her line of work,
like you said before, like how women are seen as being to be made up to be beautiful and have that appeal. As
like he said, oh well, would she, like at one point she was doing a ballet, and to be fair, not meaning this in a daft way, but while dancing a ballet, he went, "Would you want to fuck her?" basically, and it's like, well, no. Like, if she was doing a rumba or a salsa, then, yeah, I could get it because it's a sexy dance.
Yeah.
But this is a ballet. Like, I don't really think anything about a ballet is really sexy. I think it's more posh and
you're not sitting there in the seats, in the stalls or wherever, just going...
No, it just doesn't feel like that kind of dance.
Maybe to someone it's to someone's perversion of that, but...
So I think that kind of was like... she don't really need to have pure sex appeal. Like, her innocence should be there because she's a white, innocent swan at the beginning.
But then also the character's got to be that kind of raw...
But that's more like aggression. It's not sexy. Like, a dark swan is not... do you know what I mean? It's more like a bull, like, for example. What do you mean? With its rage. And that's kind of the difference between the innocent white swan and the black swan. It's like a rage thing. It's not like a sex appeal. It's a... I
don't think necessarily rage. I think it's just more how... I'm not a ballet expert or anything like, but how the movements of the dance are portrayed to aggressive. Not like saying like a bull in a china shop.
No, but that's what I mean. It's more like aggressive, like a bull. It's more like boisterous and... Whereas like the swan initially is quite elegant, and I think...
Yeah, the movements, yeah.
That's my only kind of gripe, I would say. It doesn't spoil it, but I did think, is this going to get to a bit of like a weird relationship with the director, that it's going to get a bit wrong and twisted. And it kind of does, but not to a point of where it's too seedy.
But thankfully it doesn't go too far. There's a bit like when trying to finger her, but...
Yeah, but I think it's not like rapey because she's kind of accepting it.
Yeah, it'd be more of a problem if it was like, no, get off me type of thing or anything like that.
But I think he does force himself a little bit on her, like when kissing initially and she bites his lip.
Yeah, and that's sort of like at first drawing blood and sort of the taste for it, I suppose, if you put it in that sense.
Yeah.
So, so from that, he's like, that's me seducing you, but it should be the other way around with your dance, like how some dances, like you say, like are seductive to other people, but that's for the audience to get involved in somehow, to feel that emotion, I suppose, is what he's going for.
Every dance should feel an emotion, but it doesn't always have to be sex appeal. But shall we go on to the character Lily, because she's obviously free, she's outgoing, and I feel like I'm never going to be that girl, so I understand how Nina feels. Like, I wish I was that girl, like, oh yeah, I'll just take these drugs, I'll drink loads of alcohol, and I
come in late and
don't give a shit about the repercussions of all of that. Like, I'm just going to live my life as I do. And
there's always people like that, and
I wish I could be like that.
And we all get annoyed when people can get away scot-free on certain things like that, and just, I don't know, down to a pretty face, I don't know, or just to get by with it, just because they've got the gift of the gab, maybe, I don't know.
Like, she has got sex appeal, and she knows it, and she's a flirt, and she can get away with murder because of what she does, basically, and how she dresses and all of that. And I think initially she's trying to be nice to Nina, and I feel like she's seeing that Nina's struggling, but at the same time it looks manipulative, and I think that's how Nina twists it, because she's never had a really close companion as a friend to be there for her.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's like a turning point later on when she comes knocking at the apartment, and she's like, oh, do you want to go out for food and drinks? And the mum's like, oh, who is it? Kind of thing. And it's like, just like, oh, right, screw you, mum, I'm just going out.
But
Because
also,
I'm sick of this and just like.
I think she's a
little,
pushy friend though, because it's like, well, if you don't want to do something, that you shouldn't have your friend force it on you. And even if she thinks that's best for you, it might not be. And I think that bit then, some of it plays with my morals a little bit, I guess. Just like,
I don't sort of see
spike.
that. I think it's just how it's again of her breaking away from her home and how she's always kind of been for the longest time, and it's like, right, this is sort of a turning point.
And it's good for Nina and it's good for her development, but at the same time it's like, well, let her do it in her own time. Don't think, oh, well, you need to take this pill to relax.
Oh, yeah, the stuff like that. Yeah, that's pushy. I know, I get what you mean, but I'm just meaning that initial, you want to go out.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, and I think it was nice for her to offer, and it's good for Nina. But then it was like, oh, have another drink, have this. That then is like, that's a bit toxic again. Like, Nina never really gets a say in what
she goes along with it, thinking that's breaking free, essentially, for herself. But maybe not the best way, obviously. It's just... That's quite a common thing, isn't it? It's like those uptight characters and then go, oh, let loose with some drinks.
Do you think that's me? I can be uptight at times.
No, I'm just mean to the extreme of that, and then someone gets really wasted and then they kind of do something they might regret the next day with whatever.
That's why I never get wasted, because I never want to regret anything. Going on to regrets, Beth having her accident, or was she pushed like Mean Girls? You know, does it make it sound like Nina did it, or was it the director?
Because there was a tiff at that point, and so that's unclear. But it's things like that, and he
said she was dramatic, was Beth, and like she didn't do anything in half measures, and this was her kind of way to be spiteful, kind of like a negative kind of dark cloud over Nina, basically, because she has that guilt and remorse.
It doesn't help matters, does it? No,
and she feels bad about that situation and understands how much it meant to Beth to be in that position that she's been working so long for as well. So it's, she has a lot of things going for her. Going back to the pink room, though, you can also see the fact that she wants her own privacy, she wants her own space, because she has that pole thing to lock her room. Like the fact that her mum takes the doorknob off and like, you're not going to the final show because you're too drunk, and like, why didn't you wake me, and all of that. I think also her mum secretly wanted her to miss out on the performance because she had to, because she fell pregnant with her daughter.
Yeah. So again, it's like that's a strange way of doing that, because you think that, you know, she's pushing her in a sense, but why would she want to let her daughter fail on purpose from that, other than to like, oh well, I told you not to go out drinking and stuff. But it's a bit of harsh. I told you so. But to the extreme measures of it, it's not really.
Because she makes her daughter feel guilty, like she missed out on that career, even though she was 28 years old, which is not unrealistic to be caught with a child. But that's why she was like kind of saying, oh, he's not pushing himself on you as the director and such, because, you know, I don't want what happened to me to happen to you.
Yeah, and the whole thing of like, where'd you get the jewellery and stuff? And obviously that was from Beth as well, and so like, oh, the fake. So could have fooled me with that. So there's like that whole kind of like, she's not being honest with her at the same time as well. I think it's that's the strongest back and forth that we've got going on through the story, I think, with that. And obviously the home life is quite prominent, but obviously it's always about the dance studio, of course.
Yeah. I think it's basically that's all her life is, and that's what consumes her the most.
Yeah, there's two places.
I think as well, Lily is a character who was actually meant to be good for her, but because Nina is the complete opposite, I think this is where Nina sees her as a threat and compares herself a lot, like, why can't I be like that? And that's just not how Nina is, it's just not who she is, and she definitely wants to be more like her, but at the same time she is feeling threatened that now that Lily's her alternate, that she's out to get her and get her role and spite her. If she is or not, I don't know. It's very hard to tell.
I think it really is that it's Nina just flirting with the idea of that being the case. It's probably truly not. She didn't mean anything by it. That she obviously has that kind of like sexual desire to have a lesbian relationship with her. That turns out not to be the case. It's her toying with herself, so to speak. Because obviously when there's that scene, and then again seeing the face on projected onto her.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's really didn't happen.
I wondered if initially it was like her dark version, like that's what Lily was, like her darkening.
Yeah, darkness coming out. Yeah, from that, but
it's not the case.
But I say like awakening something, stirring something inside her, further and further as events have gone on. How the film progresses, but I think it's definitely something in that, and I think from that it's becoming more apparent that she's more paranoid about what Lily is to her. Is she a threat, or is she just really just trying to be sincere and just trying to be there for her, and she just didn't see it that way.
Because she's got so much toxic relationships, it's hard for her to understand what a good relationship is. So even when it is good, she'll twist it to a toxic one.
Yeah.
But you've got those scenes where she actually gets to the final show where, people are actually there watching her perform. And she's flirting, is Lily, with the prince, or what we think is happening, and kind of like touching his crotch and everything like that. And then he drops her, does the prince, and it's like, well, is that because Lily has done that, or is that all in Nina's head yet again, and she just falls because she's not spotting properly? And it's one of those things where you're like, it's a blurred line yet again of what is true and what isn't.
Yeah, it could have well have happened. Obviously, that's leading on to that I've seen when that stumble, and then going to the dressing room and what she thinks she's smashed Lily against the glass, so her bad side against there, and then a quick shove it away in the cupboard, and then go back out and be the Black Swan.
And she does amazing at it.
That. I think again the darkness consumes her at that point to the full extent to give her the best performance that she can give.
While she's injured, technically.
Yeah. And so it's again, that's when she comes back to the dressing room and then realises like, oh wait, Lily, you are okay. So then who is in the cupboard that I just But then realising for herself that, oh wait, it's me, I've injured myself from this again. I've been too consumed, like what is it, you think like a doppelganger or
and hurt me, and that's
self, like her and her demons essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Her fears. Yeah.
And it's quite sad because obviously she carries on performing. Like, this is like, I'm not going to not do this. Like, has to. She feels she has to do the performance. And it's a very poetic ending to think, like doing her swan song essentially. Had to be perfect as show must go on essentially. Just like with the theatre and stuff. And so by doing that and just like continuing, even though she's dealing with like pain, because it looks like a lot of pain.
So the dedication and commitment to having that perfect moment at the end.
Like she actually said, I was perfect.
Yeah,
because the director goes, "What did you do, my little princess?" And obviously, he's always calling Beth that, and then he finally calls her it.
Yeah,
and then she's like,
"I felt it," she says as well, but she said, "It was perfect." Yeah,
yeah, and then that was it. And then you kind of assume, sadly, that
so that it fades to white, and like the lights blinding, the light fading out, and seeing the light again. The contrast of the purity of obviously like going to the afterlife in that sense, rather than just going to black instead. So like her pure,
innocence has come again.
She's been cleansed essentially now that all the darkness has consumed her, and now it's left her. So
it's quite sad and poignant at the same time. To be fair, though, I feel like for her it's better that she actually ends it that way for herself, because it would have only the first performance her doing it that way and then having to do it every other night. I think that would have played a toll on her.
Yeah, so it was like a one and done for her, essentially. I don't think by choice as such, but this is how it turned out that way. So she felt like this has got like one shot at doing this, so may as well go out with a bang and just like with reaching the peak of her excellence with what she's learned through the story and the dance and stuff. So like do the best performance she can before sadly ending it.
Yeah,
short-lived career.
But I think the career was making her go crazy, so it wasn't the best thing for her. Yeah. It was toxic. She was eating disorder. All she cared about was dancing. She was bruised and toes were bleeding and all of this. It was like she was really sore.
Natalie Portman, who plays Nina in this, is like whether she went through all that, obviously with the bending the toes and all that, everything dance related, whether she was truly that was all her. I don't actually know, but if she did all like generally just whenever she was on, you saw her face on the screen, how she acted was spot on with portraying that kind of like innocent, childlike demeanor, and then even like the way she spoke and stuff initially, kind of shy and reserved, and then the sexuality comes out as the film progresses and she develops.
I don't know if it's the best thing she develops in it, but yeah, she develops.
No, but in a growth of a character and
the
storyline performance, then yeah.
Oh, definitely. Anything else to add?
No, I don't think there is. I think we've covered most of what the film had to offer, I feel like.
Yeah, I think the main parts, anyways, obviously not doing too many.
There's so much to like unpack with like certain scenes and like how it all kind of is to do with all like psychological elements and stuff.
If you're not in a great place, I wouldn't recommend watching it because it is really dark and heavy, and if your mindset's not there, it's a bit of a heavy load, isn't it?
Yeah, in an instance, I wouldn't say it's quite as like thinking back to like After Sun or something like that, but in terms of like if you're hellbent on being the best in a career aspect, then perfection in that sense, then yeah.
I think as well, just body image as a perfectionist, anything like that.
Yeah, suppose, yeah, particularly with this, like, because you've got to be stick thin and
not eat and be sick and all of that.
Yeah, purge yourself of sins, but
just doesn't seem like a happy life. It's really sad, really.
No. So would you say it's kind of like a female version of Whiplash?
I think she has it harder, yeah, but definitely. I do think she has a lot worse. Obviously, he doesn't die.
No, he doesn't know. Yeah,
But yeah, I can see the comparison.
Yeah, overbearing people in their lives.
Yeah, but wanting to be the best and perfection is there as well. And these people only wanting it for their better means, like both of them wanting it, like the director and I forgot his name again.
Fletcher.
Yeah. More just because they want to look good and keep their reputation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've got.
It's not because they're really invested.
They really care. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. They just how other people feel like to their insecurities of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So now is the time for you to provide your scoring for this film.
I hate going first. I think I'm going to be somewhat either shocking you with my score.
Good or bad?
I'm not telling you.
Right, okay.
So, every time I'm torn, it's like, it is really good, and it's enjoyable, it's gripping, it's intriguing. The main lead does a brilliant performance, it's got dancing, it's
got the music as well, like the classical music and stuff.
Yeah, and the lighting, it is a horror, it is gory as hell. It is a little bit jumpy. Like, the blood scenes are a bit, you don't anticipate that it'll get that dark.
Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't say it's super gory, but
I think it's more the peeling of the skin. I don't know.
For that one, yeah, but I sort of get what you mean. Yeah.
It kind of just, makes me feel very gippy.
Uh-huh.
I think because it's more like
I know, yeah,
a physical thing.
And so, yeah.
And, yeah, it's not like the nail file stabbing was a bit, but it's still the it's just
close-ups of
I
things.
think that's what it was,
yeah.
And it was just like, I'm not really a big fan. Like, you could do, Chainsaw Massacre and he can come in, chop you all up into tiny pieces.
But you don't even see that in tiny
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, in the voices where you see, it's still, you think, oh, yeah, that's a foot, but it's not on somebody's hand that's physically doing it. I don't know why that makes a difference. But overall, it's one that I would watch again just because I feel like I'd get more revalue add purposes, go, oh, okay, now knowing what I know at the ending, there's definitely bits that I would have not seen, and I could put the jigsaw not fully together. I still think after a second watch, you still wouldn't fully get what they're trying to go for, but certain bits might add in a bit more.
Yeah, you get more appreciation for it, yeah.
So I think for me, I'm going to score it a 9. I was going to do an 8.5, but that's only because I've been a bit harsh about, kind of the pushy scenes that I just don't really appreciate. But actually, overall, it's really intriguing, and the performance is done really well. So I think I'm going to stick with my 9. I think because it's dancing as well, it did leave me feeling a bit uneasy, but at the same time, I was kind of happy with the ending.
Kind of poignant, I suppose. In
I think it was kind of beautifully done because it was she's free now.
Yeah,
and that's how I saw it.
No, good, yeah. No, I'm glad that was you've given that score, because I'm on the same wavelength, and it's 9 as well.
Woo! High five me!
I definitely got more of an appreciation for it this time around. I did remember certain aspects of it, and obviously like the manipulation and stuff I'd recall from in the past, but I think more just the appreciation for the like cinematography and just how, having seen more like psychological stirring films and that kind of like, oh yeah, what's real, what's not, and I understanding like the more in depth of how the character study is going.
It's really cleverly done, and also the colours as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the lighting, and when it gets a bit darker and she's becoming more like the Black Swan, like when she comes home and everything's dark, she's turning the lights on, and it's like looks more green and darker colours and tones, where beforehand it hasn't. So you can see like the film actually gets darker as it progresses.
Yeah, it was a good observations, and so I'm quite happy with how that. When you were saying like, oh, I'm not gonna.
I was just trying to wind you.
Yeah.
I was just trying to throw you off your scent.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks. Keep you on your toes.
So, thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you would like to hear some of our other episodes, you can do so by going on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And if you'd like to leave us a 5-star review, you can do that on wherever you can do the scoring system as well.
So if you want to follow us on social media, then the more followers and subscribers and all that jazz is always appreciated. So we are on TikTok, Instagram and Twitter. So you can follow us under the handle SP_filmviewers and hit all that like, follow, all that jazz. Yeah.
And lastly, if you would like to join our Patreon family, like we have these lovely people I'm going to call out. We have Mark from 100 Things You Learned from Film, Ben from Film Floggers, Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast, our friend Jones, who is at Weight Loss Jonesy on Instagram, and last but not least, your mother.
Yay!
And so their names have been read out, and yours can be too, as part of being a Patreon, and they also get to vote on a film once a month. So that one's coming up after this episode drops. So if you want to be part of that, you can simply go to patreon.com/SP Filmviewers, sign up for as little as £1 British or $1.50 a month.
Don't know why British pounds just made me chuckle, sorry.
And you can get all those little perks, and it helps the show grow and build a community.
Little family.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want to keep going.
And I also want some more people to be on Sophie's side.
Yeah. So thank you very much for listening once again, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.